All right, Travis Taylor, thanks for coming on here today. Excited to talk to you.
Oh, man, excited to talk to you as well. Thank you.
Give us a little bit of an overview of what you do at Tennessee football.
Almost definitely, man. So this is going on my fourth season being here under the Josh Heupel regime here at Tennessee football in the role of player engagement, kind of life coach, life skills, life outside of ball, and growing these guys as young men. It's been a tremendous ride since I've been here. I've learned so much. Being able to interact with elite staff members, elite student athletes, individuals that have brilliant minds, and being able to collaborate and make a better institution, a better organization, a better structure for our student athletes here and help them be their best. I think that's our motto. You'll hear our head coach talk about it all the time. So me personally and the staff that I'm with as well, we day in and day out, we're serving these guys from an on and off the field perspective when it pertains to leadership, teaching these guys how to lead through adversity, teaching these guys how to lead through chaotic situations, growing them as leaders, emerging leaders. You got so many young guys coming in your program each and every day. And one of our head coaches' mottos is that you young guys don't have time to be young. So we spend a lot of time developing those guys when it pertains to them from a leadership standpoint, getting them prepared for what's to come, getting them prepared for camp, getting them prepared for what life in college athletics as we know now looks like. So from a leadership standpoint, we're tackling those guys there. We're tackling them from a transitional standpoint as soon as they come in, getting them acclimated to the program, campus, the community that directly serves them, that they'll be, matriculating through during their tenure here, broadening their horizon to the different departments that serve on campus, that serve them as students, not just student athletes. So I think a lot of what we do as well is exposure. I'm big on exposure. That's a part of my story. That's a part of who I am. Making sure that guys get exposed to the right things during the right times, and then also building these guys and exposing them to life outside the line. So that's creating the profiles, right? The profiles that connect with life after ball, what they want to do 5, 10, 15 years down the road, and making sure and ensuring that we connect those dots while they're here, so that when they depart this institution, man, they're ready to go out and serve. They're ready to go out and be the best that they can be. They have a VFL network that they can lean on. They have some tangible tools that they picked up from campus and a campus network that supports them in their growth.
Very cool. Very cool. I see a lot of awesome pictures on your social media of you taking the athletes to different places, whether it be a police thing, a suit and tie thing, a real estate thing. Talk to me about some of those events that you organize and put together for them.
Daniel, again, it's about exposure. I think that's when you look at, the brand of organization that we are. It's not just about football. That's what we love about our head coach. It's not just about football. It's about exposing the brand. It's about exposing these student athletes to what the brand is, what it has to offer, and then what's around it, right? So when you look at the programs like our professional dress seminar, where we do fluent in fashion, and we teach these guys how to approach each situation of their life, the business aspect of it, how to approach negotiation tables, what it looks like to put on a suit, what it looks like to actually tie a necktie, what looks good, what doesn't. Again, exposure. I think that's one of the fastest ways to learn is throwing them in the fire. You've seen pictures of us partnering with our local police departments, again, encouraging, educating our guys on the role of campus police and what they do on a day-to-day basis and how they view citizens and the civilians of campus, and in putting our guys and educating our guys on scenarios that have happened in the past that you see around the world with college athletes, and giving them that education on the front end, Daniel, so that when they're going through these experiences, they're educated enough to know how to make great decisions, who to call if something goes wrong, and what not to do.
So it sounds like, while there's a lot of on-field training that goes on, and maybe people might think it's just bag drills and ladders and things like that, there's so much more going on from a player development and just who he is as a person, from what it sounds like. What are some of the things that you do to maybe track? You have so many athletes. How do you really track them on a one-on-one basis, and maybe not just put them all into one group and coach them as a group, but maybe coach them as individuals now?
No, most definitely great. That's a great question. This isn't just about football, drills and bags and schemes. This is an organization of holistical growth. And when you think about it, when you step foot on this campus, it has to be if you want to be successful in life and the way that things are. So it's changed the way that we coach. It's changed the way that we lead. It's changed the way that we manage and encourage and cultivate these athletes. So from a tracking standpoint, tracking our guys day to day, week to week, month to month to ensure that we maximize their potential in every facet in their life. I mean, we're getting down to the nitty gritty of tracking guys when it pertains to where they live, how far they live away from campus. How does that coincide with how well he's going to do throughout those first 60, 90 days? Is he going to need extra support in this area? Tracking these guys for what they eat on a day-to-day basis, what they're putting in their bodies during certain time periods that produce certain results. Are you getting enough sleep at night? Are you preparing yourself for the day that's ahead so that you can maximize it and get the best out of that day that you possibly can? So tracking these guys from issues, academics, every entity that touches our student athletes, I'm tracking it. So that's that's academics, that's sports medicine, that is our sports psychologists, that's mental health, that's nutrition, that's conflict issues and things of that sort. We're tracking all these things to forge conversations for the improvement, the betterment, and the growth of our student athletes on the back end. So me being able to understand and know the student athlete is 1,500 miles away from home and he's struggling a little bit in math may not necessarily always lean towards he doesn't exactly know what he's doing and he's not good in math. Maybe his environment isn't comfortable enough for him to maximize and be at his best. How can we attack that based off of the things that we've tracked and put this guy in a position for success?
Yeah. What would you say really drives your motivation to do this? Is it maybe some past experiences? Did you play college ball and then do you lean on a lot of those experiences to maybe not put those players through how it was back in the day to where we are now?
Man, I do. I lean on my experiences. And I'm big on I'm passionate about transition. I'm passionate about structure and getting guys into a system to where they can, grow and be successful because I've been in that situation. Former student athlete, played at Winston-Salem State University in North Carolina. And when my parents dropped me off the campus, I was like a deer in headlights. You know what I mean? I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to transition and get on board with everything. And it took me about a year just to do that because the support wasn't there. I did not necessarily know what I was doing. This was my first time. I'm a first generation college student. So I'm looking at this like, man, how do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go in the middle? What do I need to do? I know that I'm supposed to go to football practice, but how am I supposed to navigate this entire experience? And I think that's what drives our programming here. I think that's what drives our mission here is that when I think about the student athlete entering in, right? I'm thinking about myself some 15 years ago entering in college. What did I need? What do they have now that I didn't have? And how can we ensure that these guys are transitioning into this institution successfully and are able to maximize their experience, right? Because I'm a firm believer in this. If you don't transition into something well, you're not going to have success. That's it. That is the end all be all. You have to get off to a great start. And what does that look like? Knowing exactly where things are at, knowing the campus layout. It's things such as small as knowing the campus layout, knowing where your classes are, knowing exactly what time you have to be up in the morning, knowing where things are at around campus that you have to execute and get done. Being able to facilitate those processes in the first 60 to 90 days is going to determine the success of these student athletes majority of the time on the back end, because if you don't start this thing right, like I said, you're not going to have much success. So transition is important for me. We pour a lot into our transition with our academies and some of the things that we have from a relationship building standpoint for parents and players. So I think that's the most important part. If I can get you to transition into a program, into an organization and onboard you effectively, you're going to have success because you're going to get into that rhythm and into that habit earlier on, and it's going to stick.
And hearing you describe that, it's almost such a night and day difference between being a college professional and a high school student athlete. Like those two things are so different. How much more do high school athletes today have to prepare to get to that next level as opposed to, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Man, I mean, it's like night and day. It's different now. No longer are the periods to where you have 2, 3, 4 years to develop, sit behind somebody, take it all in. And then maybe on that junior year, you get ready to get released and you're gone and you're off and running. You got to be ready to go now. And you have to be ready to go, Daniel, more so than just in the sport aspect. You need to be ready to go from a time management standpoint. You need to be ready to go from a financial literacy standpoint. You need to be ready to go from a social community engagement standpoint. You need to have and understand what you're walking into. No longer are you the freshman college student. You are the freshman college employee that's getting paid by a university to carry on this brand and act and conduct yourself accordingly. So you're being held to different standards, different regulations than what I was held to, what we may have been held to 10, 15 years ago when it pertained to the sport world. You got to be ready to roll, and you have to be centered. You got to know what your plan is, first of all. You got to know what you're trying to accomplish and gain out of this opportunity. Because if not, you're going to fall victim to people pulling you all kind of different directions. You'll be here, you'll be there, you'll be here, you'll be there, right? So have some form of sensibility and ground when it pertains to you, right? Secondly, you got to have an academic plan. You got to know exactly what you want to gain out of this thing from an academic standpoint. What do you see yourself at? What do you want out of this thing, whether it's business, whether it's engineering, whatever you want to major in, right? Have your plan ready to go, and then have a support staff. Have your own support staff. Have your own support unit that you can rely on for some of these decisions. And in that support staff, and I think we'll talk about this later, you have to have individuals that have had experiences in these experiences before. A lot of times I think student athletes go into things blindly because we just haven't reached out or sought the information that we needed to. So make sure your time management skills are up to par. Make sure you know what you want out of the situation. Make sure you have a support system in place. Either that's mom, dad, somebody else that may have had an experience down the road that can help you navigate the process and help you from a decision standpoint. And also start understanding financial literacy, which is the biggest thing because of NIL now.
So what can, we talked about the players being different. What about the cultures from a coaching standpoint? How different is what a culture needs to look like today versus what it was like 15, 20 years ago?
And cultures are different. It's getting tougher to build cultures. And we all know that's because of the transfer portal. Guys are in and out. People are seeking deals. People are seeking things that more so pertain to them versus than the team, right? So building cultures looks different. You got to protect your culture once you get it built as well. But when you build your culture, you have to first, as a coach, you have to have an identity of what you want your culture to be. You have to have some pillars, some firm, strong pillars that you're going to stand on through tried times, through great times, and through bad times, right? You got to have those pillars that you can lean on and that you build your staff around to invest in those pillars as well. Whatever your pillars are, your staff needs to mirror it. And you need to echo that, right? Because that's a part of creating the culture, right? And then you have to go out and seek individuals, athletes, support staff that mirror that culture. Daniel, we talk about this all the time. A lot of times knowledge and fit don't go hand in hand. Just because somebody knows it, they've been there and they understand what's going on and they've had that, it may not necessarily be the right fit. So you as a head coach, you have to have a vetting process to where you understand and know who's coming through your building, who are you hiring, or who are you signing, how are they going to impact or negatively impact your culture, and assess it that way. Everything has to be vetted now. So you have to look into the people you bring in the building when you're building a culture, because those people are going to be leaning on those pillars and shaping that culture. And you have to make sure those people align with those pillars in that culture as well.
Yeah. One of the things I think that you do really well is being able to drive conversations, and you use data and reports to drive those conversations. While you know it in the back of your head, you're maybe using it as a communication tool. How important is that to you to be able to have something like that to drive conversations and communicate with, this entire staff now that you want to have insight into what you're doing?
I can't do my job without data, and I can't do my job without tracking now or at least do it at an elite level, right? Because what the data allows me to do, you said it earlier, it allows me to drive conversations, right? But it also allows me to navigate my development, navigate my engagement, right? If I'm looking at my spreadsheets and I'm looking at my issues and I see guys, I got a guy who's been missing a lot of meetings. He's been missing a lot of academic meetings. He's been missing nutritional meetings or whatever it may be, right? I'm looking at that, and based off of everything that we're tracking, from where he's from who's his champion, from what's his why, from his effort, all those things, right? I'm able to now have a conversation based off the data that we collected throughout his process and his tenure to identify what's going on, to identify some solutions to what's going on, and potentially get this athlete back on track and maximize his development. So I need to know that back in February, he went through a stint to where he was missing classes every other day and he was struggling extremely bad. You know why I need to know that? Because the data is telling me that, hey, he has a girlfriend back home, or he or she has a boyfriend, girlfriend back home, right? Whatever it may be. They just broke up. Man, he's going through that. That's what's going on. So now I need to give him some services in another area so that we can maximize his potential and get him back going and give him the services that he needs from a mental standpoint so that this guy can function, be great, or he or she be great and be the person that they need to be on and off the field.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Travis, there's gonna be a big social media thing about this collaborative village that you put together, and you're gonna be outlining it. What would you say is the main points of it, and what would you want viewers to learn from it when they watch all of this content coming up?
Most definitely. So I think the collaborative village is something that we have to look at when we're talking about the new era of college athletics. The developmental phase is over. It is NIL is in full effect now, and these student athletes are paid employees. So the way that student athletes look at universities where they want to go play is different. The way that coaches build their staffs and build their teams is different now. You have to take different things into considerations, not new things, but things that you didn't take into consideration maybe beforehand. You're taking them and putting them in the front line of communication now. So from a student athlete standpoint, we're looking at, when you come in, you're looking at the collaborative village of who's around you and what's your interest, right? So from a player standpoint, right, first thing we're looking at is your support system. Who's supporting you? Who's showing up for you every day? Who's your champion? Who do you have to go through when it pertains to making these tough decisions in your life, when it pertains to college, right? How and what does that look like, right? Also, academically, what's your plan? What do you want to do? What do you want to get out of this thing? Let's not get it twisted at all. Do not fall victim to academic clustering, right? Because there's going to come a time when ball's over with. There's going to come a time when you're not on the fields anymore. And we have to be able to rely on the choices that we made early on to set us up for success later on. So we're looking at the academic plan, right? We're looking at our support plan, right? We're also looking at, hey, am I the right fit at this institution? We got to take that in consideration. You have to know yourself as a player now. You have to know who you are and what you bring to the table. And that necessarily doesn't mean you're not good enough, right? But we're saying that you got to look at rosters now. You got to look at how the business is going. Am I able to get on this roster and produce? Oh man, they got 6 running backs on this roster. I probably don't need to go there. I'm probably going to be struggling to get playing time. I'm not getting the offers that I want. I don't like it. Maybe let me take a step back. Let me go another route and develop for a year or two and then maybe go somewhere else. That is happening. We're having real conversations, right? That is happening. Understand who you are. If you're a right fit at this institution, do you have all the tools you need to be successful? And is the university or organization going to provide you the tools that you need to be successful as well? You're scouting them just as well as they're scouting you. And I think a lot of times the student athlete, we get lost into that and we get caught up in the bells and whistles of things. No, this is a job interview for you as well. What are you take away the bells and whistles? What are you getting out of this to help you become a better person? And what do I mean by take away the bells and whistles? Take away the glitz and glamour. Take away all the things that make it fun, right? And you sit down and look and you can say to yourself, man, you know what? If I go there, this is the network that I'm going to be exposed to. Oh man, I'm going to get a degree from this program. There's such and such at this program. They have great connections in the job force and the workforce with these things. You got to start looking at things like that and take away the bells and whistles, because ultimately this could be the only time you see the money that you've seen in your entire career once this thing is over with. Let's not celebrate, let's plan and let's organize. And you do that by making sure you have the structure around you with those three pillars when it pertains to support, when it pertains to your academic plan. Are you the right fit? Right? And are you ready to take on the opportunity from a time management standpoint? Are you ready to be coachable? Because a lot of people say they're ready to play at the next level, but they're not coachable. A lot of people say they want to be great at the next level, but they don't know what it means to be great. They don't know what it means to be elite. It requires sacrifice. So those four things that we'll get into later, but those are the four things you have to look at from a player standpoint, from this collaborative village, if you're trying to seek success and maximize your potential on the back end of this thing. And then when you look at it from a coaching standpoint, right? When you look at it from a coaching standpoint and how can my collaborative village help in success? The first thing as a head coach, what I'm looking at right now, Daniel, who are the people that I have in the building? Are the people in my building right now, do they have great communication skills? Are they relationship builders? Are these people passionate about people? One thing I can say that I think we do a great job at is that we have passionate people in the building that are passionate about people, right? So you got to have people in the building that love people. You got to have people in the building that are customer service based, because we are in the customer service based industry now. Let's not get it twisted. NIL has been introduced to this thing, right? So now we're in the customer service based building, right? And the student athletes are our customers. So how are we serving them and the individuals that I have around them is ultimately what's going to shape my culture too. So that's the first thing as a coach. I'm looking at my staff. What type of people do I have in, right? Also, as a coach, I'm looking at how I build my relationships now, right? And more than ever, and this is just me, this is my opinion, right? As I'm seeing this over and I'm doing research, I'm actually working on my PhD where I'm studying NIL triggers and the basis of NIL and how it affects families, right? So you as a parent, you as a coach, now you got to understand that parent more than ever. You got to understand that parent more than ever, because the more you understand the parent, the more you're going to understand the kid. Because a lot of times what I've seen is that kids are not going to necessarily open up right away. You're going to have that relationship with that parent, at least for that first year, those first 6 months, to lean on, to make sure and ensure you're getting the best out of that kid until they get fully acclimated into your process and into your procedure, right? And then the last thing from a coach standpoint, what I think is the most important, you must protect your locker room. Your locker room is your culture. Protect your locker room at all costs. What do I mean by that? Anybody going into that locker room, you got to make sure you vet it out and you know what you're injecting in it. You got to know what you're injecting in your locker room. You have to know what you're taking out of your locker room, because it just takes one guy to shape it. It takes one guy to ruin it. It takes one guy to make it. It takes one guy to break it, right? So your process and your strategic process, or however you're betting this out, when you get your culture where it's supposed to be, you must protect it. It is sacred. That locker room is so sacred, because this is why there's things that go on in the locker room that you as a coach, you won't know until 2-3 months later. That's just how it is, right? How sacred that locker room is, right? Things don't always work their way up to the top. So you got to make sure that you have processes and procedures of you knowing what's going on in your locker room and making sure that you inject the right guys and the right girls and the right student athletes or whoever in your locker room, because that's pivotal, and that'll shape and take away every other pillar in that collaborative village. It'll derail. You can have a collaborative village that has all 6 points, right? But that locker room point be off, and it diminishes everything else.
Wow. Oh, super excited for this, Trav. That's going to be some great content. Talk to me about how you got on this journey. How one, becomes a player development director for a big time Division I college football team.
Man, you know what? I've been blessed. And you know what I've been blessed with, Daniel? I've been blessed to be around individuals that have poured into me and that have guided me on my path and have shown me the way. I've had some outstanding individuals that have poured into me over the years. Being a former student athlete, I know that I knew that I wanted to be around the game. I didn't quite know how. So when I started to, so what I did, I found out and I just discovered my story and what I went through. And I said, you know what, man, there's plenty other guys going through something similar like this. They need a voice. They need somebody to pour into them. They need somebody that can show them that it is a life on the other side of the game, no matter how much hard work you put into it. When the game is over, that's a great thing, right? You can move on to other things. So I've been fortunate enough to be around some great individuals in the likes of, the names of like Jerry Mack. I've been around Dr. Ingrid Wicker McCree, Shell Mitchell, a lot of great people in my life, Coach Trey Oliver, a lot of people in my life that have played a vital role in me and given me opportunities to learn, to grow, and to expand my wings, and then take those pieces that I've learned and then pour them into the next generation, because that's what it's about, trying to prepare these student athletes for what's to come so that they can take our mistakes, our pitfalls, learn from them, and elevate that game and evolve.
Very cool. Very cool. Where does Travis Taylor see himself in, let's say 10 years from now?
Man, I get asked that question all the time. Mainly my wife always asks me that question. But, wherever my feet take me, wherever I'm guided to, I've learned that old wise man once told me, man, you got to be where your feet are. And I've learned to take my experiences, and when it's time for me to move, when it's time for me to go somewhere else, it's never been off. It's never been unauthentic. It's always felt right. So continuing to serve, I will tell you that. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I will tell you to be continuing to serve student athletes, continuing to serve, college students transitioning in and preparing the next generation, man, for life after sports, for life after college, and things of that sort. So that's, without putting a direct bow on what it will be, that's around the area and around the ballpark that it will be servicing in, because I'm passionate about it. And I think every day when I come in the building, I get excited about being able to help a young man, one of our young men, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, whether that be through the data that we've tracked over the course of the past year, whether that be sitting down having a financial literacy conversation, whether that's sitting down and talking about a profile and getting these guys aligned with what life looks like 5 to 10 years afterwards. So definitely want to still be serving student athletes and students in making those guys and making those students, achieve their goals and reach high levels.
Phenomenal. This has been a great conversation, Trav. Really looking forward to hearing more about the Collaborative Village, and looking forward to learning a little bit more about you as well throughout the process.
Thank you. Looking forward to it as well. Thank you so much.